Hello and welcome back to Look Movie Recaps. Today, we are going to recap a 2014 movie titled Redeemer. Please be advised that there will be spoilers ahead. In the opening scene, we are introduced to Nicky Pardo, a religious man who visits the church regularly. However, one day when Pardo entered the church, he saw something strange. From a distance, he saw a panicked person hiding something in one of the flower pots in the church. Feeling suspicious, Pardo followed the man to the harbor. There, Pardo witnessed 4 other men accosting the man, intent on finding a bag filled with money. They then interrogated, ganged up on, and several times immersed the poor man in the water on the seashore. Despite his near-death experience, the man professed ignorance about the contents of the bag. Failing to get the information, the 4 men left him. Pardo then approached the man, who turned out to be Austin. Pardo also took the initiative to help him. Austin asked Pardo to take him to his friend Antonia's house. Arriving at their destination, Antonia opened the door and invited them in. Seeing Austin's poor condition, Antonia told her son to go to his aunt's house. In fact, her son was sick and needed surgery to recover. However, she had to send her son away to ensure his safety. She didn't want someone looking for Austin to come to her house one day and hurt her son. Pardo became curious and inquired about Austin's request. Austin replied that he just wanted the people who beat him to leave and not disturb him so that he could work peacefully. Pardo pondered for a moment before deciding to leave his home. Upon arriving at the house, Pardo initiates a ritual where he rotates the bullet holes of his gun akin to a game of Russian roulette. He filled one hole with a bullet, leaving the other 5 empty. He then fired the gun once to his head. If he is still given a chance to live, it means that he is still given the opportunity to earn penance by eradicating the evil around him. However, if he died, then his mission would be over. Because of that, he got the nickname the Redeemer. One afternoon, Pardo came to the harbor and challenged the 4 men who had beaten Austin the other day. Austin also watched Pardo from a distance with fear. The fight is inevitable. Using a small knife tucked on his finger, Pardo easily slashed the necks of his opponents. The propeller of a boat engine, still running, crushed the head of one of his enemies. After overthrowing his opponents, Pardo took their belongings and donated them to the church. As Pardo made his way towards Antonia's house, he noticed numerous armed men congregating near the highway. Even though they ignored him, he increased his vigilance, indicating that Pardo was not the person they were searching for. Arriving at Antonia's house, Austin begged Pardo to protect him from the gunman. It turned out that a drug dealer boss owned the bag containing the money Austin threw away a few days ago. Pardo agreed to assist Austin, provided he returned the money to its rightful owner. Austin agreed to his proposal in order to avoid the drug dealer gangs. Pardo then took Austin and Antonia in his car to hide in a cave on a deserted beach. After that, Pardo ventured into a drug dealer gang. He offered to provide them with the location of the bag they were looking for. However, he stipulated a condition: they must depart the city immediately after retrieving the bag. Their leader, Pedra, did not immediately believe it. He wanted to first check the truth of Pardo's story. Pardo informs them at gunpoint that a church contains the bag they are searching for. Accompanied by his men, Pedro went straight to the church. However, despite searching every corner, Ped's men were unable to locate the bag. Enraged, Pedro summoned his men who were on guard at Pardo's detention site. He ordered his men to kill Pardo for lying. However, before that happens, Pardo attacks Pedro's men and engages in a fist fight alone. He fought against many of Ped's henchmen who wielded weapons. Luckily, Pardo managed to win the fight and kill them all. Not long after, Pedro returned home. How surprised he was to see all his men killed. He immediately went to his boss, Steve Braddock, to report the incident. It turns out Steve is the owner of that bag after slaughtering Ped's men. Pardo goes to the cave to meet Austin and Antonia, who were apparently busy counting money. Initially shocked by the sight before him, Pardo soon realized that Austin had taken back the bag Pedro was looking for so Antonia could treat her son. Pardo then tried to snatch the bag. However, Antonia tries to stop him and begs Pardo to let her have the money. Pardo ignored it. He still intends to return the money to Piedra. In the middle of the trip, he became indecisive. He remembered the past with his wife. He stopped the car on the side of the road to think. Ultimately, he made his way back to the cave and gave the money back to Antonia and Austin. Still in the cave, he once again performed his unique ritual of playing Russian roulette. Luckily, the shot that erupted was empty, so he survived. Sometime later, Pardo began to oversee the illegal activities of drug dealer gangs. He closely monitored the intricate operations of the organization continued until one day he followed a car that led him to a drug factory. From a distance, he continued to spy on the activities taking place there. After the car he had previously followed left the factory, He got into his own car and continued to follow. Unexpectedly, he found himself in a trap. Someone discovered his reconnaissance and fired at Poirot's car while he was crossing a road leading to a warehouse. Here, Poirot engages in a battle with a member of a drug gang. His opponent was quite tough, so Poirot had a difficult time fighting him. Nevertheless, Poirot ultimately triumphed over his opponent, who succumbed to a kick from Poirot. That night, he returned to the cave to rest. There, Antonia approached him and extended an invitation to engage in conversation. When Antonia touched his back, he instantly recollected his past memories with his wife. Previously, a man named Alacron, also known as Scorpio, abducted Poirot and his pregnant wife. At that time, Alacron tortured and made Poirot's wife scream in pain. The man gouged the contents of his pregnant wife's stomach in front of him. Alacron gives Poirot the choice of ending his wife's life or seeing her tortured to death. Poirot could not do anything because, at that moment, he too was in a state of bondage under threat of a gun. He was given a gun that was pointed at his wife's body. In a desperate situation, his desire to end his wife's suffering led him to shoot her. In the present, Poirot drives his car back to the drug dealer headquarters. From the hiding cave, Austin tried to dive to the harbor's edge to steal his boat. He intends to use the boat to escape from the city. Regrettably, Alacron's men caught him as soon as he managed to board his boat. He proceeded to dive back to the cave. However, it turned out that Alacron was waiting for him near the cave. Simultaneously, Poirot walks towards a drug factory armed with a gun. He shot at the guard standing at the gate and bravely entered the factory. The gunfight ensued fiercely. Arriving in a room, he met one of the guards and fought with his bare hands. Repeated blows successfully overthrew his opponent. Then, Poirot headed upstairs where the mafia boss's office was. The room appeared disorganized with bullets strewn all over the floor. He approached a chair where the mafia boss was sitting. He was suspicious because the boss didn't move and sat stiffly. However, before he had a chance to check on the mob boss, Alacron suddenly struck him hard from behind. Alacron then took Poirot, who had lost consciousness, away. When he fainted, Poirot remembered his past where he saw the shadow of Alacron, who was his greatest enemy at that time. In the past, Poirot held a job that was prohibited. At that time, he was hired to kill Alacron in his home. However, because Alacron was difficult to beat, Poirot made a mistake during the fight. Suddenly, Alacron's son came out of his room running just as Poirot fired his gun. The bullet he fired hit Alacron's son. Seeing his only son, whom he loved so dearly, die in front of his eyes infuriated Alacron. He holds a grudge against Poirot. When Poirot awoke, he found himself in front of the church by the beach. He woke up just as Alacron fired the gun. He saw Austin and Antonia sitting in fear not far from where he was lying. Alacron throws a gun at Austin and tells him to shoot himself in the head. Antonia screamed in terror, so Alacron shot one of her legs. When Alacron was off guard, Austin tried to aim the gun he had just taken out to fire at him. However, Alacron noticed and, with lightning-fast motion, shot Austin in the head. Then Alacron asked Antonia to take the gun Austin was holding. He threatened Antonia to shoot herself in the head. With fear and trembling hands, Antonia obeyed Alacron's orders. She pointed the gun at her head. Meanwhile, the chaos in front of him reminded Poirot of his wife. With a little courage remaining, Antonia suddenly pointed the gun she was holding at Alacron. Simultaneously, Poirot kicked Alacron's gun, causing it to fly far away. Poirot and Alacron then fight one-on-one with their bare hands in front of the church. Both Poirot and Alacron have good fighting skills, which balance their fight, kicks, and punches from both sides. After some time, Poirot successfully overthrew Alacron. Alacron was still alive despite being helpless. However, Poirot decided not to kill him. At the end of the film, Poirot advises Alacron to repent and follow his example in fighting crime. If he dies, Alacron can meet his son in heaven. Thank you for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.